fans and who-dats from all over the world. It's time for the Crescent City Connection. With Kyle T, Bob Rose, Barry Hirstius, and the Saints News crew.
First and 10, let the story begin. It's football Sunday, the Saints marching in. We went from banging our heads to them calling us ain'ts. Now it's split, say they gon' beat them Saints. First round bye, when we make the playoff, everybody hating, cause we get to take the day off. Vince and Boogie, nobody do it better. Now we on our way to our best season ever. Who that? Who that? And the Saints are marching on. Who that? Who that? Who that? And the Saints are marching on. Who that? Who that? And the Saints are marching on.
All right, Saints fans and who-dats from all over the world. This is Kyle T. Mosley of the Saints News Network. I'm here with the Saints News crew, and we're bringing to you the Crescent City Connection, throwing down to you everything in the latest on Saints news as well as what's happening in the NFL. And we're going to give you a little something extra tonight. We're going to talk some Louisiana football with you, with the young man Corey Holmes, who's directly from Louisiana College. He's playing guard. I remember a story your mom had told me, Corey, that Sean Payton saw you when you were in high school and thought you were ready to play in the NFL. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, man, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit what's happening in the Who Dat Nation, guys. Saints fans, if you guys were not aware, but the New Orleans Saints have won 6 straight games. That has been done by only 2 other previous teams who went 0-2 at the beginning of the season, the 93 Dallas Cowboys, as well as the, forget the year, but the New York Giants as well. Both of those teams went on to win the Super Bowl. Is that a great omen? We shall see. But we know that the New Orleans Saints are playing some very inspired football on both sides of the table, with the offensive guys as well as the defensive guys putting together some pretty decent games. It hasn't been a complete game yet, but it's a work in progress, right, Bob?
Absolutely, it's a work in progress. This team is literally getting better every week. But you're right. We have yet to see a complete game from them. But just about every single one of their wins, they're controlling the game from a very early portion on. And unlike the Saints teams of the last couple of years, even in victory, when Saints fans were sitting on the edge of their seats, almost waiting for something to go wrong, or biting their fingernails down to the nub or something like that. I can't speak for everybody, of course, but there's not too many moments in these 6 straight victories where I have a whole lot of doubt coming as they're coming out of the locker room after halftime. I'm really impressed with the way this entire group is playing very team-oriented football and very organized game plan and very close-knit unit of the team, too. And you can tell that all the way up to the coaching staff and down to the second and third teamers that are performing well on special teams.
Yeah, definitely. These guys are doing such a great job where you have a guy like Hardy who came to the team a few weeks ago, and now he's the NFC special teams player of the week, and was it a couple of weeks ago we had Alvin Kamara and we had Cam Jordan, player of the week. And I mean, these guys are really doing a great job. Is that what we really want? Of course not. We want the Super Bowl ring. We're kind of spoiled. We've been there, done it. We want to see if we can put another one on to be able to say, it's lonely over here. Let's get another little bling bling to add to the collection. But the New Orleans Saints, man, these guys are doing such a great job. Corey, welcome to the show, man. And Corey, being a young guy, being there playing football yourself, how do you see the Saints team thus far?
They look great compared to the few years before. The defense are playing outstanding. I've never seen a defense play like that in a few years, and it makes me, being a diehard Saints fan, makes me feel really excited to see what the season holds for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I've talked to a number of players, either who have played in college, high school, or even the National Football League. When they get a chance to watch a football game themselves, do you find yourself kind of critiquing the play, especially like you being a guard on the offensive side? Do you kind of say, well, if that guy would have done this or done that, we could have done this or that? Do you find yourself going there from time to time?
I find myself doing that a lot. And then me wanting to be a coach in the future, I find myself doing that just about almost all the time.
Oh, Bob, you hear that? We got a budding coach there, man. All right, I like that.
Sounds good to me. The young football players and athletes could use some good coaching, pretty much on every level, Corey. So happy to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, we've got to welcome to the show my man from Harahan, Mr. Barry Hirstius. What's going on, Barry?
Kyle, how are you, my friend?
Oh, man, it's good to hear your voice. We got a youngin' in the crew with us today, Mr. Corey Holmes out of Louisiana College. He plays guard, Barry. And Sean Payton took notice of him a long time ago, too. Mm-hmm.
Hey. Glad to have you aboard.
All right.
Happy to be aboard.
All right. Well, good. Well, look, guys, the Saints defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30-10 inside of the Superdome. But before we even talk about this game, we've got to talk about the bizarro start of the game by Jameis Winston. Guys, you got to listen to what Jameis – well, just listen.
I want everybody to look at me. I'm going to pass it to corn after I say one thing. Let's go. That's a W. Let's eat one. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight? How many eat a W tonight? Yeah. Come in. That's all.
All right. How many of y'all want to eat a W tonight?
Oh, yeah. I think Jameis probably should have stuck with the crab legs personally, but
oh,
yeah. I totally get what he was trying to do. He was trying to fire up his guys, and maybe steal a page out of Drew Brees' book. But, obviously we know that Drew Brees is well known for his pregame, pumping up his players and whatnot. I think Jameis Winston was trying to maybe one up Drew Brees and maybe do it in a more, more modern or more hip style. Drew's more of a straightforward guy. His is kind of based on the military type of influence, whereas I think Jameis was trying to put a little, a younger version on that, and it failed miserably. That's all I can say.
Well, hold on, Barry. Let's go right here to Corey, man. A young guy. Is that how y'all fire up people, Corey?
Everybody has their own different ways of getting fired up. I mean, I'm in the back. I'm gonna be the person in the back, not saying nothing. I'm kind of a self-motivated player,
Yeah.
So everybody else have their own different ways of getting fired up. But Jameis Winston, I don't know. That was kind of a bizarre way of doing it.
Look, I can understand what he was trying to do as well. He was trying to say, hey, this is W, guys. We want to eat a win right here in the Superdome. But his teammates were like kind of, I think they took your approach, Corey, kind of looking at him at first like, all right.
Yeah,
James,
they were
what are you trying to say, man?
I don't think they were expecting that.
Yeah. Well, but Jameis continued on his bizarre ways after getting hurt in the game. And with his pseudo, I don't know if he was trying to turn off the power button on Marshawn Lattimore's helmet. It's like, please turn him off. He's schooling Mike Evans here. I don't know if that was going on or not, but that was just kind of weird.
It almost seemed like a provocation. It seemed like he was trying to provoke something, and he did. He succeeded because, by his actions, obviously Lattimore turned around and thought, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And then, of course, here comes Mike Evans flying out of nowhere, and then Devontae Harris, got involved. So it really could have got ugly. And it all started because Jameis Winston being a knucklehead, basically. I don't know how other way to describe it. So, and I found it kind of not odd, but interesting that the league didn't even mention Jameis Winston or maybe fine him $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever, just to say, hey, we know what we saw, and your actions actually started this whole thing. But nothing was really said about that. And as a matter of fact, it was Deion Sanders on, I believe it was the NFL Network, who defended Jameis Winston. No surprise, because they both played at Florida State. So, just a big mess, big bizarre mess. And but what it speaks to, and I said this on the radio yesterday, is it shows how undisciplined that Tampa Bay team is right now. Dirk Cotter, the head coach of Tampa Bay, has completely lost control of that team. They're 2-6 for a reason, believe me. And I guarantee you, the pirate ship in Tampa Bay is going to sink to the bottom before it's all said and done.
Wow.
Well, and I completely agree with you, Barry, that Winston clearly antagonized the whole situation. But what I was waiting to hear from the league, and that we never did hear, is, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I thought that the NFL had very strict and well laid out black and white penalties for a guy that's coming off of a bench to start an altercation.
Right.
And Winston was out of the game. And okay, if you're going to talk smack, that's one thing. The game is full of that. But he actually made contact with Marshawn Lattimore, like you mentioned, Kyle, and that's what started the altercation. Yet not a word. I mean, Evans was rightfully suspended, I think, a game, and certainly fined heavily. But I thought that coming off of a bench in an NFL game, a player coming off of a bench, or certainly a coach, that carries an automatic suspension. Yet not a word.
And I thought it was also strange because I'm just going through my 50 years of life, almost 51 now, and I can't ever recall a quarterback coming off the bench to even provoke any type of altercation. Never in my day. I mean, I've known some pretty rough and tough type of quarterbacks that came through the league back in the day. You think about the guys in the Raiders uniform. Stabler was pretty rough. Terry Bradshaw, remember, he doesn't even have teeth in his front teeth, and he was pretty rough, and I've never known anything like this to ever occur, man. So, Corey, what's your thoughts on this, man, to just see Jameis kind of melt down there?
Oh, it was really bizarre, the whole situation. Jameis Winston, I was surprised nothing happened to him, because there is a rule. Like Marshawn Lynch, about a week or two ago, he got suspended for a game for running onto the field for a fight.
Yes, he touched the ref. He touched the ref. Right.
But I'm not sure why nothing happened to Jameis Winston, not even a fine, because he started the altercation. He was on the bench. He was out for the game, walked onto the field and started the altercation. Nothing happened to him. Not sure why.
Yeah, I know in college you guys can't do that as well, right? I mean, you can't come off the bench.
We can't come off, because if you come off the bench while a fight ensues on the field, you can get ejected with everybody else.
Yeah.
So
just bizarre. I know the NFL officials have been having a difficult time this season to get everything as consistent as possible, but that one, it was a head scratcher all in all, man.
Yes, it was.
All right, good. Barry, let's go back to you, man. Let's talk about the Saints on Sunday, and just what's your quick takeaways for the team and the direction they're going into right now?
It was a very impressive win. I thought it wasn't perfect. If you caught my editorial the day after the game, and I pretty much alluded to it, that it wasn't a pretty for the second straight week. even though they beat them by 20 points, it wasn't exactly a pretty win as far as, how it looked to people. You beat somebody by 20 points, you think, well, man, in essence, they did dominate the game. But Tampa, I thought, would put up a much better fight than they did. Again, it speaks to how undisciplined that team currently is. To me, it's not a talent issue with Tampa. It's clearly a head coaching issue or a coaching staff as a whole, maybe, type of issue. That they've got talent. I mean, you look all through their roster, that's a talented football team. A lot of people were picking them to win the division. They were going to, they were supposed to be the darling team in the NFC South this year. They were going to be the team that emerged, from the pack and won the title. And looks like the Saints are actually that team this year. But they dominated, I thought, in all aspects. The offense still not quite clicking on all cylinders. We saw Kamara with the fumble. Of course, he redeemed himself, 152 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns, looked great. He was probably the player of the game in that aspect. But the offense just seems like it's not completely firing on all cylinders. I think they missed maybe Willie Snead's contributions. I don't know what's going on with Willie Snead. I actually speak to his mom on Facebook. Not on Facebook, on Twitter. I speak to his mom on Twitter, and she says that Willie's gone through a lot of personal stuff, because of the, obviously he had the DUI over the summer, and it's been a real struggle for him, and he's trying to work his way through that. He's, clearly frustrated, probably is the word I would use. So, but hey, it is what it is, and but until Sean Payton gets him back involved in the flow of the offense, it's going to be hard for him to get reestablished. And right now with Kamara and the way the offense is kind of geared, it has kind of shifted gears now towards going back to that old style, the Darren Sproles, Reggie Bush type of role that Kamara has now. So, they're obviously going back to the running game and highlighting the running game, and rightly so. I mean, as we discussed in the past, 2006, 2009, the years that they've been very successful were years that they ran the ball, as much as they threw it, a more balanced offense. And Sean Payton, lo and behold, whenever he gets just an average defense, it doesn't have to be great, but whenever he can get an average, average to somewhat good of a defensive unit, and he gets that establishes that running game and has success in the running game. Doesn't have to be a 100-yard rusher every week, but just utilizing both guys and styles. You got Ingram, who's the pound and the ground and pound type of guy, the power back. And Kamara's your scat back, your all around all purpose guy, catching balls out the backfield and essentially being that fifth wide receiver, really, in lineup at one time. So it's obvious that the offense has gone under a metamorphosis, or actually has gone back in time, basically. It's traveled back in time to a previous time when they had a lot of success. And but it still seems like it's kind of, caught in between that mode where they, for the last 3 years where they were just 70-30, basically a 70-30 mix of pass and run. So now they're trying to gear itself back towards that 55-45 type of split. And I think there's some struggles there. Tight end, man, I can't even tell you. Kobe Fleener finally showed up somewhat this past week, but the tight end position's been a huge disappointment. And let's call it like it is. Other than that nice year that Ben Watson had when he was here. Other than that, I mean, what have we seen from the tight end position?
Right.
Nothing to be grand left. So I don't want to harp on it and say, well, in hindsight, maybe they shouldn't trade Jimmy Graham. I'm not saying that at all. We already know what the issues were with Jimmy Graham, but clearly they've never replaced him. Like I said, I know Watson had the one good year, but I think that was an anomaly. He's kind of moved on to Baltimore and hadn't really done anything since. So Drew Brees makes the players around him look great. So, I guess, you could put a Josh Hill or Hamada Wananui in there and still get production from the position. But Kobe Fleener's been a tremendous disappointment from my perspective. So,
yeah.
So there's, like I said, there's some good things, but there's some bad things. On the flip side of that, the defense is phenomenal. I mean, man, and I know, Kyle, we're going to do our mid-season grades here later in the program. But that defense just continues week in and week out to impress me. And, man, I can't say this enough. I know I missed last week's show the week before, and you and I and Bob, we all were in agreement that Marshawn Lattimore single-handedly has transformed this defense. Because what he gives you is that lockdown corner. He gives you that ability now where teams, he's basically taken out a team's number one wide receiver. So when you're locking down, when you're holding a Mike Evans to one catch at 13 yards, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's rookie. I mean, we're not talking about Richard Sherman, 7-8 years in the league. This is a kid who's played 8 games in his NFL career. So it's just phenomenal talent, and that's the difference between this year and the last 3 years. Is you got a player, a game changer, an impact player, so to speak, whatever terminology you want to throw out there, that the Saints have lacked on defense for I don't know how long. I mean, maybe Vilma, maybe John Vilma was the last guy like that.
And also Darren Sharper was that type of guy, and we can't leave out Malcolm. Malcolm was like that as well for these guys.
And let's not downplay Cam Jordan, of course, but Cam's been a one-man show. Let's face it, he's been the defense pretty much for the last 3 years. If teams double team Cam, then pretty much the Saints defense is completely left vulnerable and exposed. And that's exactly what we've seen for the last 3 years. Well, now Cam's got help. So he's got Okafor, who's played very well. And now you've got help in the secondary with Lattimore and Crawley. Crawley's played well. So and Vaccaro when he's healthy. So now you're looking at a defense that suddenly is really is outstanding at one position, which is Cam Jordan, but now you have two positions that are just totally outstanding, that are Pro Bowl caliber, which is Jordan in the pass rush, and now you got a guy in the back end with Lattimore that's outstanding. So that allows your defense to do a lot of things schematically that you couldn't do before. And so now teams have to take a totally different approach to the Saints defense. That because they didn't respect them before. Let's call it what it was. They did not respect them. Now they have to respect them because you have a guy on the back end that's a difference maker that is so good that he takes away your number one weapon in your offense, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, that good analysis there. The one thing, and Bob, you and I kind of talked about this a couple of weeks ago as well as early on in the season. And Barry, I've been talking about this for years with Sean Payton, the inconsistency, especially with the play calls. And it seems like the offense, like you say, is just not gelling at the beginning of the games all the way. Now, they have been doing a great job tweaking, especially in the second quarters and second halves of games, right? But Bob, why is it? What is it about what Barry alluded to? Is it that Sean Payton is trying to acquiesce and finally say, yes, the run is more important, and I need to figure out how I need to tame myself from not calling these pass plays, or is it that he just needs to understand which plays to better utilize the talent at running back?
I think at this point in the season, Coach Payton is coming out. They're still not quite as aggressive on offense as what I personally would like. But then again, I honestly like the run and shoot style. But Kamara is a toy. We knew that when we knew how excited that Sean was going to be about this draft pick when they picked him up. But I mean, he's more. Alvin Kamara is much more than just a gimmick player that can be used on trick plays or on third down only situations. I think he's proven himself to be an every down back, and the Saints' opening drive against Tampa last week. I don't think Ingram even got a touch until like the fourth or fifth, maybe sixth play in the drive. And Kamara himself accounted for 26 yards out of their 58 yards on the drive. So I think Payton is using his multifaceted running attack, and he knows how versatile a weapon Kamara is. And Ingram has proven himself to be a pretty versatile weapon himself. He's a very underrated pass catcher. He's not as dynamic as Kamara is. But he'll get you the yards. He's a good, solid safety and check down option. So I think Payton is coming out, and he's hitting the opposing defense. Because I've watched him the last few games now. That opening drive a lot more closely than what I was, and it seems like he's using every weapon at his disposal on that opening drive. And I think what that's doing later in the game, or as you said, Kyle, when they come out into the second half, the Saints all of a sudden are now not as predictable as what they have been the last couple years. And like you said, Barry, there were some games in these last 3 or 4 years that we would see a 70-30 pass difference. And now we know we're not going to see that. The Saints, and obviously with a lot of help from the defense, they're in control of the game as we reach the midway point of that game. So he literally has his whole playbook at his disposal, and he's using it. I don't think he has as much confidence in the receiving core, and certainly not as much confidence from the tight end position as he has in years past. But he knows that he has arguably. I'd look around the league and tell me a team that has a better 1-2 punch at running back that the New Orleans Saints do right now. So he's just using those to his disposal, and he knows that he could do anything with them. So I do like that out of this Saints offensive approach, and we'll keep our fingers crossed, because as we get into a tougher part of the schedule with some very, very good defenses coming up, we might need to rely on Drew Brees' arm in that passing game again. For 350 yards or whatever for a shot to win. And when they have to dig down deep into that well, we have to ask the question, are they going to be able to do it? Willie Snead, again, we don't know exactly what's going on with Snead. Maybe he's not 100% healthy. Maybe he's struggling with some personal problems. I mean, all that is speculation. What we do know is that the man has one catch for 11 yards up to this point in the season. Now, Ted Ginn has played extremely well, much better than what I honestly had anticipated. And Michael Thomas should be considered among the more elite receivers in the league. But this passing attack, I don't think is as explosive as what we have seen in years past. It's more of a quick rhythm, ball control attack, with Brees' arm. And if that running game gets shut down by, say, a Bills defense or a Rams defense coming around the corner here, is this passing game going to be good enough to carry the team like they've been able to do in seasons past?
Good points, guys. It sounds like it's almost like a boxer. Payton has been like a boxer trying to set these guys up for the punch later in the rounds of a heavyweight fight. But like you say, could that slow start come back to bite us? Now, Corey, you are an offensive guard, right? Being a guard early on in the games, do you feel it's better for a team to exploit the run against their opponent or take advantage of the passing attack?
Well, it's always good to establish the run early in the game, but depending on what type of defense you have, like playing against this, if you know that passing defense is weak, you can exploit that right off the bat. So depends on like week to week who you playing against, but establishing the run early is always good.
It sounds like you like to knock some guys down and pancake them, Corey. Is that true?
Yeah, maybe. It's a little bit. Just a little bit.
All right, man. If you guys know Corey has a big heart, man. He's always been like that ever since a young kid. But Corey, you look like you're pretty tough out there against those guys. And you're not giving them any slack.
Nah.
All right, Doc. So let me ask you this, Corey. Being an offensive lineman, have you taken notice of the rookie Ramczyk and to see how he's been able to acclimate himself into the Saints' total scheme, right, Bob and Harry? Barry? Ramczyk has really come in and done a phenomenal job. What are your thoughts, Corey?
He's done great. He's adjusted to the speed of the game in the NFL from college to NFL, which is, from what I've heard as an O-lineman, is kind of hard to do sometimes. So for him to do that, and I think he played two different positions. I think he played right tackle. I think he played guard at one point and then went back to tackle. Mm-hmm. For him to do that, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he has really.
About to say it's his versatility to me that. And I agree. He's acclimated to the speed of the NFL game. I mean, just overnight, practically. We saw Andrews Pete, how bad that Andrews Pete struggled with the speed of the game, and kind of we'll touch on that later when we do our midseason awards thing, because Andrews Pete is my selection for most improved player this year. And it took Andrews Pete, 3 years to finally acclimate himself to the speed of the NFL game. Ramczyk took him a couple of weeks, basically, maybe less than that, and he's already. So that just goes to show you how phenomenally talented he is. But more, to me personally, more impressive, as Corey alluded to, this guy has played right tackle, left tackle, and even has played some guard, and could play guard. Basically, could play any position on the line, maybe with the exception of center. Can play any position on the line, guard, tackle, wherever you line him up. He'll put his fingers down and he's ready to roll. And man, that to me is that's worth its weight in gold. When you have a lineman that's versatile like that, if somebody's hurt, and not just the versatility, but the talent, because he's just that good of a lineman that you could just plug him in anywhere. Man, that's worth its weight in gold. I can't even think of the perfect analogy or description to use to make my point, but you understand what I'm saying. When you have a guy like that, it allows you to do so many different things, and you're not struggling and you got to be forced to put a guy in there who maybe isn't as talented, like a Bryce Harris. I want to beat this to be my night to brag on Bryce Harris, because Bryce Harris's credit, he always comes back and does what's asked of him, no matter whether we think he's the right guy for that spot or not. But just having a guy, and another name I'll throw out there, Kelemete, Theo Kelemete.
Right.
That guy, he's another one. He pretty much can line, and he could play center. He could play any spot. He's the one player that the Saints have who can actually play any spot on the offensive line. So when you've got that kind of versatility from more than one player, and Andrew Speed, of course, obviously could play both tackle spots and the guard spot. So you basically got three guys, who are all starting right now, who could swing anywhere along the line, and that's to me, that's why the Saints, I believe, Bob, are still have given up the least amount of sacks in the NFL. I'm pretty sure they're still number one in that category, or if they're not, they're in the top 5 for sure. Yeah. So, and that's why. And that's why, because when you have guys that are that talented and can do all those things, you're gonna keep your quarterback upright more often than not than you're gonna have him running for his life.
Yeah, definitely. With all the good things we have seen out of these guys, one thing that has really concerned me, Coach Rick Gailey would always tell me this, and he would say it on the air to us, Coach, get better soon, please. We need to have you back. But Coach would say this, our special teams have to be special. And right now, guys, I'm concerned what I'm seeing out of our special teams. A low kick block on extra point. We having these muff punts. That has to end, man. We can't go on the road against the Bills or play the Redskins later, as well as the Rams, and thinking we're going to really walk away with a win any longer. These little mental mistakes that Ginn has made, and Ginn has been habitual about it. And we knew this, right? He's done it in Carolina. He's done it elsewhere. He usually, Bob, that's your best friend, has brick hands at times. So we really got to pay attention to how these guys are doing it. It seems like we're starting to have the fumbleitis with our running backs. I know Kamara did redeem himself, but I got to ask you guys this. It seemed to me that Sean Payton gave Kamara a little bit more latitude, a little bit more leash than he did with Mark Ingram. What are your thoughts there, guys? In just quick thoughts, Bob, Corey, and Barry.
Well, I'll go first real quick. I just think that there's a history there between him and Ingram, and maybe it's his way of sending a message. And Kamara being a rookie, he probably figures, well, and let's face it, Kamara's production has been off the charts. So you kind of be shooting yourself in the foot if you try to punish him, so to speak, or put him in the doghouse. So I get that he figured, all right, I'll give the kid a chance to redeem himself. And if he doesn't, so then I'll have to go back to Ingram. But to me, I just think there's this unspoken. And you saw it on the sideline like 2 weeks ago when Ingram had those issues where he fumbled on that second fumble. I don't know if you caught it, but there was a little verbal exchange between him and Payton.
Yeah.
During that Bears game, at the end of that Bears game. So I think there's maybe something behind the scenes that we're not aware of, and it might just be his way of sending a message to Ingram. And look, we know what happens when Ingram gets fired up. We already know what's going to happen. He's going to run over somebody.
Yeah, run angry, but
hope that's what happens.
Yeah, Chris Spielman brought up a good point, though. He said sometimes when you have those type of exchanges and you have a guy kind of focusing on not trying to fumble, he stops being as aggressive in his types of runs that you're used to having him to do, and you notice that he was a little timid at first at the beginning of the game. He kind of loosened up toward the end of the game, but Ingram wasn't fully Ingram at that beginning of the game. So, all right, guys, let's talk about let's hand out some mid-season performance grades, and we're just going to ask you guys give quick thoughts about who are your top guys, and you can explain a little bit why, but quickly explain that. All right, let's start defense. Who's our defensive rookie of the year? And let's start with you, Corey. I want to get your thoughts.
Defensive rookie of the year, that's of the Saints.
Of the Saints.
Lattimore, by far.
Lattimore. All right, good.
Yeah.
All right. Bob, who would you say would be the defensive MVP of the year for the Saints?
Hey, that's a tough one because we had a conversation about this last week through Canal Street Chronicles, and I was one of the few that said Cam Jordan, very, very narrowly over Lattimore. But I'll be honest, I got to go with Lattimore. We know what Cam can bring. Cam is a superstar. He's a stud. But the difference in this defense, and Barry, you said it earlier, the difference in this defense is Lattimore completely taking the opposing receivers, the top opposing receiver completely out of the game. And this is a rookie cornerback. You don't see that from rookie cornerbacks. So I'm gonna flip flop. I'm gonna say my defensive MVP is Lattimore.
Okay, Barry, I want to hear your thoughts. Who's yours as well? Defensive MVP.
Well, I'll answer two questions with one stone, or kill a bird, whatever you want.
Kill a bird with one stone?
Yes, because he's the defensive rookie of the year for the Saints, at the halfway point anyway, and he's the MVP. He's both. He's the rookie of the year, and he's the MVP, and it's Marshawn Lattimore. And the reason why is because no Saints rookie on defense has had this type of impact, and I said it in my article a little while ago, about my Jeff Ireland article, that no Saints rookie has had this type of impact other than a guy from the University of Pittsburgh, defensive end in the 1981 draft by the name of Ricky Jackson, who we all know went on to become a Hall of Famer and part of the Dome Patrol legendary Saints defense. And outside of him, in all my years watching the Saints, and this is my 44th season of Saints football, I can't ever recall anybody having this type of impact. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I mean, like, as we alluded to, he takes away an opponent's top receiver, and what he does by him doing that, it allows you to change up the scheme of your defense. It allows you to blitz. It allows you to do all these different things that basically the team was exposed at during the last 3 years. Now it's just, what was a weakness is now a strength, and teams, obviously the NFL has not adjusted because they're still coming in thinking they can attack the Saints and run over the Saints like they have been for the last 3 or 4 years, and they're finding out, whoa, we can't do that anymore, and they can't adjust on the fly, and so. 9 times out of 10, there's been a couple of, hair-raising moments like the end of that Bears game. But, other than that, if you think about it, going all the way back to that game at Carolina where they beat the Panthers, they've pretty much been solid wins. Might not be blowing teams out, but they're solid, sound victories where you could say, the Saints were the better team that day. I haven't thought the Saints aren't the better team since they lost that Patriots game. Since they lost to the Patriots, that's the last time I thought to myself, well, the Saints deserved to lose because they weren't the better team. Okay. They won 6 in a row, and they've been the better team 6 straight times in a row. So, hey, look, let's see what happens. But by far and away, it's Marshawn Lattimore.
Okay, Corey. Let's talk about offense. And let's talk about the guys on the offensive line. Who will be your offensive line MVP thus far this season?
MVP, I'll give it to the rookie because how versatile he's been and how solid he's been, and because he's been playing outstanding, very outstanding.
Good. Bob, let me stay with that thought. What's your thoughts about the offensive line as well?
First of all, I'm impressed with the entire offensive line. Where we haven't been giving them enough love as a group. And we talked about Ramczyk and how well he has played, and he looks like a future Pro Bowl, like a future consistent Pro Bowler. We know what Max Unger can give us at center. Can't wait for Larry Warford to get back on the field so this line can be back at full strength. But Calamete is playing extremely well also. But I'll tell you, the guy I am most impressed with on that line is Andrus Peat. He's by far the most improved player, and every member of the offensive line is doing it. But we're seeing Kamara and Ingram break open runs into the secondary, sometimes with a completely untouched, because these guys are getting to the second level of the defense really quickly and blocking extremely well, opening up lanes. And Andrus Peat is probably the top guy at doing that as far as what I'm seeing. And he's had to move out to left tackle from his guard position a couple of times because Armstead has been in and out of the lineup, and a position where Pete has struggled his first couple of years. He's a better guard in my opinion, but he's held up pretty well at left tackle as well. So if I had to give an offensive line MVP, I'm giving it to Andrus Peat.
Interesting. Andrus Peat gets Bob's vote. Old turkey arms and cankles. So let's talk about what's happening with the skill position guys. Barry, who would you list as your MVP thus far in the skills section with the running backs and the wide receivers?
Oh, it's not even close. It's Alvin Kamara. He's totally, as I alluded to at the top of the show, he's totally changed their offense. He's basically allowed Sean Payton to take the offense back to the future, so to speak, because now he can do the things on offense that he hasn't been able to do for the last 3 or 4 years since they traded Darren Sproles. We still don't know why they traded Darren Sproles because it obviously
nobody will know.
Not to get off topic, but Sean Payton kind of made his own. They say if you do it, I don't know the analogy. If you make your own bed, you gotta lie in it or whatever it is. Well, Sean Payton's the one who put himself in that position because he should have never traded Darren Sproles. But that said, now he's basically rebooted that type of offense. But now you've got a rookie who's dynamic, fast. He's not blazing speed. A lot of people don't realize. Kamara is not running a 4.25 or a 4.3. He's more like a 4.4, 4.45 guy, Bob. But he's so shifty, and he's got just the most smooth and he glides. When he gets that ball, he glides down the field. That's the only way I can describe it.
Barry. One thing I like about Kamara is his balance too, man. He seemed like players that most guys were down. Kamara finds a way to stay upright.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Well, you clearly saw it on that touchdown play where it looked like he was going to go down to the ground, and you almost saw where he took his hand and he kind of reached out and he felt his way. He felt his way through that play, and just. Like you said, it was a perfect example of he's just got all these dynamic intangibles or attributes, whatever terminology you want to use, that you don't see from a lot of running backs. A lot of guys, they just plod ahead. They're just like the Gurley for the Rams, where they just run over people. But then you've got it takes a special type of player to do the things that Kamara can do. It kind of reminds me of Marshall Faulk. He's been compared a lot to Marshall Faulk, and that if I had to pick one player, as I said, going back to the history of the NFL, who's the one guy that Kamara reminds me of? That's who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Marshall Faulk. And so when Sean Payton made that comparison back during the summer, a lot of people kind of laughed at it. I didn't laugh at it. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was the perfect analogy because that's who he reminds me of. If you look at his game and then go look at some old game film of Marshall Faulk, that's who he looks like. So, look, you basically got the old Marshall Faulk in your offense now. Man, that allows you to do a lot of things that you couldn't do before. And so he's hands down the MVP of the offense for me.
Okay, good stuff. All right, guys, quickly, MVP of the whole team. Corey?
Man, it's tough. It's tough.
You want me to come back to you?
Yeah, come back to me on that one. I'm trying to think.
Okay. All right, Bob, MVP of the whole team.
It's Lattimore. It's Marshawn Lattimore, and guys, I know all of us have been gushing about this kid, but for good reason. What Kamara is doing on the offensive side of the ball is very, very impressive, and I love his game. He's a 3-down running back, but we all know that Sean Payton has always been able to take offensive weapons and make them almost interchangeable. And Kamara is something special. I agree with what Barry said. But Lattimore is just a flat-out difference maker. How that guy, if you were to do a redraft right now of this previous spring's draft, every team that passed on Lattimore, I guarantee you, is kicking themselves right now. So, yeah, he's the MVP of the whole team.
All right, good. And, Barry, your MVP of the team.
Yeah, well, it's going to be considered sacrilege for me to say this, but Bob's 100% correct. It's Lattimore. Look, obviously Drew Brees is Drew Brees. And I know anybody who's listening to this podcast live right now or when they listen to the playback, they're going to be throwing stuff at their computer or whatever when they hear me say this. But Marshawn Lattimore is an impact player. He's a game changer. He is the one player Saints have not had for the last, as we were just saying, Kyle, since maybe Vilma or whoever, that he's been the one guy that they've lacked for years. And he just like Bob said, he just let you do things that on defense that they could not do before. Another, and as I mentioned previously, because teams didn't know how good this guy was because he's a rookie, they have not been prepared for it. They've just assumed that the Saints defense are the pushovers that they've always been for the last 3 or 4 years. Worst defense or one of the worst defenses for the last 5 years. And he's just changed the entire dynamic because now teams have to completely change their game plan of how they're going to attack the Saints defense, because basically, Lattimore is going to shut down that side of the field. It don't matter who you got. It don't matter if it's Dez Bryant or Mike Evans or whoever you throw out there. This week is going to be Kelvin Benjamin. They got to get shut down. They got to take a trip to Lattimore Island, and you are going to be stranded there because this kid can play. He's the best pure cover corner that I've seen come out of college. Oh man, I can't even. I don't even know if I can think that far back.
But you know what, Barry? I'm very surprised at Lattimore's performance. And I remember when Revis came out, the Saints were keen in on him at that draft at that time. But when he first came out, and I know the Jets picked him up, right?
Yeah.
Everybody said kind of similar things, how well he was able to adjust and be able to play his game. And Bob, remember when we had Shane on earlier this year, Shane Boyle, who played for the AFL, and he knew he played with practice with Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu. He said if the Saints cornerbacks just played their game, their type of game, instead of being scared or just wondering if they're going to make a mistake, then you will see a change in how these guys are going to defend. And we saw it kind of after that conversation with Shane. Remember, Bob? Those guys started playing their games, right. And Crowley, remember, and a lot of people remember in the preseason, they keep forgetting Crowley helped save some games last season for the Saints when Bro was out. But Crowley plays that aggressive type of cornerback play. Not all good in his technique all the time. It kind of holds you and whips you down and all this other stuff. But that's that aggressive style as a defensive guy, especially when you are being attacked constantly as a cornerback. You have to have that mindset like, all right, if you're going to bring it, I'm going to bring something to you as well. And, I mean, that's just how I see it. I think these guys have changed their mentality when Crowley was inserted in that lineup, and because P.J. Williams just wasn't cutting it. He just wasn't cutting it, guys. All right, and Corey, circle back to you. What's your MVP of the team?
I have to agree with everybody else is Lattimore because everybody waits for somebody to make a play on their defense, and it happens to be Lattimore, and they just feed off of his energy. Like, and then the DBs, they just feed off his energy. Like Crowley and Vaccaro, they start making plays up because he make a play. Right. And then when they start making plays, Cam Jordan start making plays, and Okafor start making plays. So he just does the spark that we need on defense.
All right.
Lattimore.
Good stuff, guys. All right, I wanted you to be on tonight, Corey, because Bob and Barry are sports writers, and those guys are well known covering the New Orleans Saints. They do an excellent job. You know, Barry and Bob, you know, these guys crank out articles like 2 or 3 or more. Barry, one time, he had 3 in one day. I was like, how in the world he did that? So, I wanted them to ask you a couple of questions, Corey, being a young talent coming out of college, and you're the next chapter of your life is out there. So, guys, just ask Corey a couple of quick things, kind of pick his brain.
Well, here's one for me, Corey, which is how difficult, from your perspective, is it for a player to be able to seamlessly shift from tackle to guard and guard back to tackle? I mean, how hard is it really, from your perspective, to be able to play both spots, guard and tackle? Is it all about technique? Is it what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, how difficult is it from your perspective? Is it all about the individual guy's talent that he can master both positions?
I really don't think it's about talent. Well, talent does play a role in the sport, but if you just know your assignment and know what to do and technique, because I'm mainly a guard, I can play center, I can play tackle, but it's just knowing the assignments and trusting your ability to do your assignment. That all plays into it.
Okay, good. Bob?
Yeah, I got one for you, Corey. And thank you. You've given us some great insight into specifically offensive line play today. But all of us have talked way back since the preseason about we've shown concern about the depth along the Saints offensive line. The starting caliber talent was undeniable. We've talked about how impressive Ramczyk has been. But, I mean, Zach Strief, we may not get him back before the end of the season. Teron Armstead has been in and out of the lineup. Warford has missed the last couple games. So my question to you is Calamete and Josh Laribas, who I thought played extremely well when he came into the game last week, are those two guys good enough if they have to play an extended number of games due to injuries to the guys up in front of them? Are those two guys good enough for this offense to get it done?
I think they are. They, like you said, they played extremely well. They trust in their ability. And there's one thing about O-line. Chemistry is a big thing about O-line play, but it's also trust too. I mean, it looks like they all trust each other out there. That's why they're performing so well as a whole unit. So if you trust each other, the chemistry will come, and it looks like the chemistry has been building over the last couple of games. So I think they can hold up with those two.
So when you talk about chemistry, Corey, are you talking about just the feel for your teammate by you and trusting that guy?
Yeah, it's like you can, like you get to feel like like you say you double team with somebody, like where they're going to take over a certain section of the body and stuff like that. Like you can like feel that basically. So maybe it may not have the same person, but if you work with them in practice, you can get that chemistry going throughout the week. That way on game day it can be there. And then you don't have to think about it. It just happens. So, and calling out protection calls and stuff like that. So you work on your chemistry during the week to where on the game day, everything just goes into place.
Good stuff. Let me ask you this, Corey. What has it meant for you being a part of a team. I don't know you guys' records, but just being a part of a team all your years at Louisiana College.
Well, being part of this team has been a blessing to me. Met a lot of people over here that mean a lot to me. We call ourselves a family over here. We really are a family. I can pick up my phone and call any of these other guys on my team. I know they'll be there for me, and that's from the years past to the current right now. So.
Awesome. Have any of those guys gone on to play professional ball, either CFL, AFL, NFL?
There was a guy I met on my recruiting trip, Jeremy Univis. He was a starting left tackle here for 3 years before I got here.
Mm-hmm.
He's currently playing for the Indianapolis Colts, starting left guard for him.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Awesome. Has he given you sent you any emails or anything to give you some pointers, or have you guys asked him for any advice?
When he was down here before, because he was really with the Packers, he signed with the Packers, and then they cut him, and the Colts picked him up. But before he came down there for a couple of times, we would talk. He sent a film with us one time before too, so. If we ask him, he'll give us insight whenever he's in town.
Good. Now, Corey, what's your next step? What do you want to do for you in your career? I know if it was up to your mom, is finishing college, right? getting an education.
Graduation. I graduate in May.
Oh, congratulations, man!
Awesome.
Thank you. But well, playing wise. If I get a shot, I'll continue to play. But my passion is to coach. I want to coach one day.
Awesome. Do you think if you would be invited to one of the regional combines for the NFL, you would attend?
Yeah, I would pursue it. Because I'm going to stay in shape after I finish playing. So if I get a shot, I'll take it.
Okay. All right. Good. We'll see if we can help you make that happen.
All right.
Good. All right, man. Guys, it's been a good time tonight. Let's quickly talk about what's going to happen with the Saints going up to Buffalo on Sunday. Looks like the weather is going to be pretty nippy a little bit. May not be snowing. What have you heard, Barry, so far?
I've heard temperatures going to be between 40 and 45 degrees. They're actually going to get some snow, I believe, tomorrow night, but it'll be cleared out by the time the Saints play the game. But it still will be cold, but not bitterly cold, but in the 40s. Folks in Louisiana think that's cold, but it's not. It's really not. For ex-military guys like myself, they'll be fine. I mean, they just played, and people forget they just played in the rain in Green Bay 2 weeks ago, and won a game. So it's not that big of a deal if it does rain again. That said, the stadium, New Era Field, is right on the shore of Lake Erie, so they get what they call lake effect snow. So they could have a rainstorm or a snow shower pop up out of nowhere, basically. So there's always that threat, but 30% chance of rain, I believe. But it's going to be cold. It's going to be cloudy and overcast. Maybe a little bit wind, but nothing that's going to hinder their ability to play this game. I don't think. I know in my prediction article, I had a little fun with it, put some weather stuff in there just to spice up the article. But that said, I mean, all to say to a man, all of these Saints players have played in the cold weather before. Most of them played, at cold weather schools in college, so it should not be that big of a deal. But I don't think it'll be that much of a factor.
Okay, Bob, what should the Saints kind of work on before going up there to play Buffalo?
holding on to a stupid punt. And I obviously it's more so than that. I think we're gonna, especially if there are some windy conditions coming off of that lake, and there oftentimes are this time of year. I expect the Saints to come in with an offensive game plan similar to what they've had in every game of this winning streak. They're going to rely on both of their running backs and a quick rhythm passing attack that gets Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn involved on shorter patterns to get the ball in their hands, try to get the ball in Kamara's hands, get him in space. So even if it is a little bit windy, I agree with Barry. I don't think that that'll hinder the Saints' offense at all. Defensively, this team is hard-nosed, and they are extremely aggressive. And the Bills' offense should not, on paper, present them many problems. However, having said that, LaShawn McCoy is one of the most dynamic backs in the league, and the Saints still aren't ranked highly as far as a run defense goes, but the thing that they've had problems with is not that the opponents have been able to control the ball on the ground, but they're getting one or two big runs per game, usually in the first half, but they're still getting them. You get LaShawn McCoy in space like some of these other guys have against the Saints, and McCoy's taking it for six.
Bye-bye.
What's that?
I say it's bye-bye. He's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I've noticed, we've applauded the Saints, not only Lattimore but Crawley as well, and the safeties for how well they played in man-to-man coverage, allowing that front seven to be extremely aggressive. And I love the defensive approach. But what we've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks is that quarterbacks are being able to scramble and getting big runs against them. And Tyrod Taylor is the most athletic quarterback I think that they faced up to this point. And he's another guy. He will keep the chains moving with his legs. So the Saints linebackers, they'd probably be wise to use a spy on Taylor on passing games like that, or passing plays like that. Use Robertson or AJ Klein to kind of spy on Taylor. So that way the defensive backs can continue to play man-to-man. And other than that, just avoid the mental errors. And the mental errors are occurring on the special teams unit when you talked about, Lutz having a couple of low kicks or not being able to field a punt. Those are mental things, guys. These guys know what to do and how to do it. They're just quick mental lapses, and those are the things that'll cost you a game in December that'll determine playoff seeding or perhaps even a playoff berth. And this team is coming along too fast for a special teams error to screw it up.
Right. Well, I said it last week. If the Saints lose a game, this is the game they need to lose because the Bills being in the AFC, right? Tyrod Taylor is not my concern, but you brought it out. McCoy is the major concern I believe the Saints need to really focus on. And they've got to watch out for that young wide receiver, was it Thompson, that he relies on as well. I know Calvin Benjamin is just becoming familiar with their offensive scheme, but, man, this is one of those games, Barry, that I really think the Saints are going to either learn some critical things that they're going to need to learn, because if Philly continues on the track that they are on, we may face the same type of weather system, type of conditions that they need to go to Philly and win a game in Philly like we did before on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but that's exactly right. Because and we're just kind of projecting ahead. But a lot of the other potential playoff matchups, like the Rams, for example, they obviously could be playing in Los Angeles. They play Minnesota. They could be playing inside the closed roof of the U.S. Bank Stadium. So there's one open air stadium that looms large. And obviously that would be the Link in Philly, so Lincoln Memorial Field. So, that's definitely something to consider. That said, this is a winnable game. I know a lot of people are picking. I saw a bunch of ESPN writers today are picking the Bills in an upset. I'm not sure I refer to that as an upset because they're undefeated at home and they have a good team. It's not like they're pushovers. It's not like they're 2-7, right?
Right.
So I kind of disagree that it would be an upset. It's just two good teams playing each other. One just happens to be on a 6-game winning streak and leads their division. The other one's in second place and just coming off a really bad loss where they got hammered on the road by the Jets. The Bills are kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team. They're undefeated at home, and they play well at home. And this is where the game is going to be held in their house, in their stadium. So I expect this to be a tough game. The Saints are going to have to be on their A game, and to me, the key to the game, without question, there's no other way to say it. It's turnovers. If the Saints turn the ball over, if Mark Ingram fumbles twice in this game, they're going to lose this game. There ain't no two ways about it. They're not going. This ain't the Bears where you can fumble twice and still walk out of there because you had a rookie quarterback playing out there. You're not going to go into Buffalo and fumble twice, or they're going to come away with a win. So, the Bills rank second in the NFL right now. They've forced 17 turnovers, 11 interceptions, 6 fumbles, and 2 of them have been returned for touchdowns. So these are guys that if they get a turnover, not only they get taking the ball away, but they might score on it as well. So, conversely, when they don't force a turnover, like last week against the Jets, they get their butts kicked. So it's all going to come down to turnovers for the Saints. If they can take care of the ball, they'll win this game. It's that simple.
Good stuff. We need to know right now how these guys are going to perform because this is a team that beat the Denver Broncos, the Atlanta Falcons, the Buccaneers, and the Oakland Raiders. Corey, any thoughts on your end how the Saints should prepare for this game?
They need to go ahead and try to win the turnover battle. That should be one key of them, win the turnover battle. Like somebody said, the Jets do force the Bills do force a lot of turnovers, and with the rookie safety, Tre'Davious White, who's defensive rookie of the year candidate with Lattimore. So win the turnover battle, and hopefully we don't muff any punts this week. So we should be all right.
All right. Well, good stuff, guys. All right, Corey, what's your prediction? Score.
Saints 27, Bills 13.
All right. Bob, what's your prediction?
This is going to be a tight one, and it's going to be a slugfest. But I think the Saints are going to march up there and come out with a tight, low-scoring victory. I'm going to go 20-14 New Orleans.
All right. And Mr. Barry Hirstius, what's your prediction?
Yeah, well, obviously I put out the prediction article this morning like I do every Wednesday, and so obviously I can't deviate from that. So, I'm going to stick with the score I gave this morning in my article, which is the New Orleans Saints 20 and the Buffalo Bills 19.
Close one, very close. Look, I got it 17-13 Saints. I think it's going to be a close one as well. I just think these guys, the first half, man, may not be all mentally there for some reason. I don't know why. I've had premonitions about this game hitting me.
And rightly so. This is a tough game. If they lose this game, Saints fans should not be shocked. I see so many fans saying, "Oh, they're going to blow them out." And Kyle, I'm sure you saw today where a fan took me to task because I didn't predict the Saints to blow out the Bills in this game because I predicted it was going to be a close game and had a Saints fan chew me out basically and tell me how horrible I am for not predicting the Saints to win by 50 points.
Look, man, we gotta be real. You gotta be realistic.
You're not going to go into that stadium and win by that much. You're just not.
Yeah,
that's a good football team. It would be different if they were the Tampa Bay team that we saw last week. But then, yeah, I could go with that. But this is not Tampa Bay. This is a team, and they're undefeated at home. So, yeah. I mean, why why would you expect anything else? Now look, it would be great if the Saints go in there and blow them out. Then we'd really, as you and I have discussed, Kyle, that this will reveal a lot about this football team, how they perform Sunday. And now if they go out there and blow them out, well, wow, then we're looking at a whole different story then, But if it goes like I think it's going to go, it's going to be a tough game, and they might lose. And if they lose, then they lose. Then you got to come back the next week and bounce back and show us that you got some moxie and you got some fight in you, and come back and beat the Redskins the next week. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Long as these guys show some heart. If you're going to lose without heart, then I have a problem with it. Right. But if you put up a fight and you try to come back from mistakes and whatever, and you putting together some sort of gumption to you, yeah, I can say, all right, I can see where you guys at least were trying to get into it. But I hate when teams just lay down and lay out and they start pouting, just like what we saw in Tampa Bay. Those guys started pouting. You saw that, right? They started whining. Jameis Winston went to the sideline. He was whining to his position coach. And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, they in trouble. Because when you start whining, he and Cam Newton are good for that. You got a problem. You got a problem, man. All right, well, good stuff, guys. Corey, let me ask you this, man, and I just want to get your quick thought as a young man being in the college ranks, but hopefully has some aspiration coaching these guys. As a coach, what would you tell your team going on the road and playing in some unfavorable conditions?
You just got to treat it like it's a home game, like defense, like protect, like we say here, like our end zones are blue, like at our home field. We say defense, protect the blue, offense, get in the blue. So that should be the same mindset they should have. Like, we need to protect the end zone, and we need to get in the end zone. And no matter where we go, we at home, and just treat it like it's another home game. Just try to make it as much as a home game as you possibly can. Just feel comfortable. Don't worry about the environment. Yeah, it's going to be cold. Forget it. Just go ahead and just play.
Yeah, I like that. Protect the blue, get into the blue. All right. Good stuff, Corey. Hey, Corey, now how can the people follow you on social media?
Social media, my Instagram is C Holmes HOLMES _7479. Same with Twitter without the underscore. And Facebook, Corey Holmes.
All right. Good. Man, Corey had his own poster, guys. Yeah, they put his own promo poster together, man. I was like, look at him, man. Shoot. All right. And let's see here. Corey, tell us this, man. You're finishing with what degree?
Degree with health and PE, minor education. So
okay,
be a PE teacher.
All right, man. Well, look, we do invite you back. I tell people once you're a part of the Saints News crew, you're always going to be a part of us. So I'm going to hold you to it. So you just be on the lookout for Kyle said he want me on again. I don't know why, but he going to want me on.
I got you.
But I've always been impressed with you ever since you were a young toddler, and very proud of you, what you have been able to accomplish. Your mom and dad have done a great job raising you. You have good family structure, man, and I just want to say continue to listen to them, because I know being young, you can be a knucklehead at times. I was there too, but your mom and people like that, they pray for me, and we'll be right there praying for you to come through with flying colors. Okay, my man?
All right, I got you. Thank you.
All right, Corey. All right, and Bob, how can they follow you on social media?
Well, thank you as always, Kyle and Barry, for having me on. Corey, you are a very impressive young man, and good luck to you to finish out strong. But yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you this evening as well. But folks, you can follow me on Twitter. My personal Twitter is BobbyR2613, and I do work and write for the Canal Street Chronicles. Bunch of outstanding writers for them as well. And Canal Street Chronicles can be followed on Twitter at Saints CST. Or you can look me up on Facebook. I have my own Facebook page, and Canal Street Chronicles has their Facebook page as well. We're kind of intertwined with the Saints News Network. We work a lot together. Barry and I and editor at Canal Street, John Hendricks, we're all very involved with each other as well. So, please, if you see us posting articles or getting in discussions, join in. We love to talk football with you guys.
All right. And Mr. Barry Hirstius, my man from Harahan.
Yeah, well, of course, everybody can check out the articles on saintsnewsnetwork.com, which is our own website where I write articles. We're trying to put together a staff here in the future, but as maybe even get Bob to come do a guest spot for us here and there on a few articles. But that's where all the content's at, my original content anyway. Most of it's opinion articles. Do for some Saints news type of articles on there. Like today I have one on Jeff Ireland, who's the man behind the scenes, so to speak, of this phenomenal Saints draft class. And probably the one guy who's been overlooked for their success this year because of this, the outstanding job he's done with evaluating talent. So that's one of the articles under Saints News. And then, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Barry Hirstius. The last name is spelled Hirstius. And, of course, you can follow us at Saints News.
All right. And guys, be in prayer for the families in San Antonio, Texas area that were affected by the gunmen who many of those people in the church lost their lives. So we're praying for you guys. And also, guys, don't forget to continue to pray for Coach Rick Gailey in his battle against cancer. He's going through his 4th round of treatments right now, so continue to be in prayer for him as well. Remember, you can always follow us at Saints News on social media. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Saints News. That is our handle. And don't forget, you can read up on the New Orleans Saints from various articles across the internet at www.saintsnews.net. All right, guys, we will have everything wrapped up. We'll have our next show next week, next Wednesday. Corey, thank you very much. Bob, thank you. Barry, thank you. This is Kyle T. Mosley of the Saints News Network, and thank you for listening. You guys have a great weekend. Who dat, baby?
All right.
Yeah. All right.